a lot of trouble was gone to change the title originally of Nowhere Boys. Originally, it was going to be called The Lost Boys. But, of course, there's the movie, The Lost Boys, and so they had to change it. Yet this movie is called Nowhere Boys, Book of Shadows.
Yeah.
Book of Shadows happens to be the title of one of the worst movies ever made, Blair Witch 2.
Oh,
Book of
really?
Shadows. Did you know?
I did not know that. I did not know that. We ended up, the whole thing is, a Book of Shadows is a real thing. That's what, if you're a magician, that's what you have. You have your Book of Shadows, which has your spells and stuff in it. And that's the central element of our story. So we went through a lot of names. It was Nowhere Boys, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And we went through, and the reality is that most of the names we have, is like Chaos Reigns and the Dawn of Chaos and the End of This and they're all books or things. So I'm surprised that didn't come up as an issue. I had no idea.
I will just make it clear so that people are not confused.
Yes.
I know you didn't have a huge effects budget for this film. The effects look okay in this movie, given what the film is. However, I got to just ask you about, there's a scene early on where the girl is filming and on the iPhone, and the image is just, it's not fitting properly onto the phone. And obviously it's a motion track thing. Someone didn't motion track the phone with the image you were putting on. What happens when you see that in a movie? What is that telling us? That you didn't have time, that you ran out of money to do it, or no one noticed?
Look, no, it's just not. I don't think there's a single scene in this film that doesn't have some level of CGI. That scene you're talking about, that has about 8 different levels of CGI. There's something like 80 scenes in this. So we're talking... look, I'm not making excuses, but we've got a lot.
It's a small moment.
It is a small moment. And, it's like... My general feeling about filmmaking is, at the end of the day, would I like to have more money and more time? Yes. But do I believe the characters in that moment, even if it's a moment about magic and about sort of parallel universes and stuff? To me, that's my main priority, and that's where I put most of my emphasis. And it's like, do I believe them?
Yeah, terrific. Now, David Caesar.
Oh, yes.
How is David Caesar going?
I'm good. Mostly I've been doing TV. I did 3 series of Underbelly, which I really enjoyed. And I, developed a few series of my own. I was one of the co-creators of a thing called Power Games, which was about the early years of Rupert Murdoch, which I wrote and directed, and I really, really liked.
Extraordinary stuff.
I loved doing that. I'm making stuff and I'm loving it.
Would you describe yourself as a journeyman director? Is that fair?
Look, I would describe myself as, you make a choice in Australia. You can't make a living making just your own films every 4 or 5 years. It's just not sustainable. I have no other skills other than being able to write and direct. And I can grow pretty good potatoes. But and I like TV. And one of the great things that's happened over the last 10, 15 years is a lot of the TV shows I've been working on, I've really, really loved. I've really liked them.
Underbelly must have been a kid in a candy store for you.
It was.
Because it was like Dirty Deeds, squared for you.
Yes.
It must have been.
For me, it was a no-brainer of a show. It was like, why wouldn't you be making a show like this? And I've often thought that, that whole larrikin, Aussie, jokey, crimey, breaking the rules, and it's, fantasy stuff, and to me, it's kind of as much fantasy as Game of Thrones is. It's like this idea of like this rollicking, having a good time, breaking all the rules, and people watch it and they think, oh, wouldn't it be great to break all the rules? And you know, and then they go off to their office job. And that's fine. I think that's one of the really important roles that storytelling tells in any society.
Now, what happened to Prime Mover, which I thought was a really good film, came and went very quickly.
Do you know, it's one of those things, and I'm really sad about that, because I really like that film, and I'm still really proud of it. I think the performances in that film are some of the best performances in anything I've ever done. I think Michael and Emily were just fantastic in that. It's just one of those things that we didn't. It just slipped through the cracks, and it's one of those things as well that if it had come out like 5 or 6 years earlier, I think it would have been very different. That was a very weird year. That year there was 40 Australian films came out. I had a lot of friends in the media, and a lot of them who would have done stuff on it were going, well, we've done 20 stories on Australian films this year, you know. I mean, have you got any really big stars? Have you got? Is it based on a famous book or play? Is it based on a true story? And well, not really. No. Oh well, you know.
It's very interesting that Tony Ayres says how important it is when a film is released. Because I was asking him about Cut Snake, and he said he didn't want to release that film in the 2014 narrative. He wanted it released in the 2015 year to be part of that year's narrative. Yeah. Which I thought was a very cluey thing to say, and it is the case, isn't it?
You know, I think with Prime Mover, we would have been better off if we'd held off another 6 months, if we'd released it in the next year, because it would have been less static, you know, and it was just timing, it was just all sorts of things, and you just can't, and if people don't know about it, that's that.
Does it have an afterlife though? With
yeah, we do. It's on. I mean, you know, I do a bit of teaching at film schools and stuff, and occasionally someone says, "Oh, I just watched your film on Netflix," you know, and I think that's the key thing. I mean, like, one of the things I find really frustrating about those downloading stuff, and there is a new one that's been created, which is going to be about trying to put every Australian film ever made on it, which will be great. Is that I go on there and there's all these films that I've enjoyed over the years, like a film that I quite liked, and I think it even won AFI Award for Best Film, was a film called Kiss or Kill. You can't get that. You can't see that. You can't download it. You can't rent it. You can't, you know. And I just
think Bennett film, best film and best
film, yeah, and less than 20 years ago, and it's like, how is that possible that an important Australian film just gets lost like that? And you know, it's a real, and I'm hoping that with this idea of this new I think it's called Ozflix or something, that all that stuff will be available, because people are often asking me, well, how do they get to see greenkeeping, or how do they get to see that? And I go, well, I don't really know. You know, there might be some old VHSs somewhere in the back of some dilapidated video store somewhere, if it's still going. But you know, other than that, like, how do people see that history of Australian film?
And can you just tell me quickly about the afterlife of Mullet and Dirty Deeds?
Well, they both have had a much stronger afterlife. But I mean, one of the reasons Mullet had a strong afterlife is that Foxtel paid for it, so they put it on regularly because they own it. And you know, like and Dirty Deeds as well, because it was a Channel 9 production. It was very much promoted, and so you can still buy Dirty Deeds. I mean, Mullet's not massively easy to get, but it's possible to get it. And though again, I don't know why that they aren't available on Netflix or iTunes, or I think, well, though I'm assuming because Nine owns Stan that you can get it on Stan. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's just, you know, that's one of the. I mean, I think that this whole downloading process and streaming process is fantastic. I use it all the time. I just think we need to make sure we have access for Australian material, because I know there's a lot of people who want to watch stuff and they can't get it. You know, that, you know, like, people go, oh yeah, but it doesn't have this and it doesn't have that. You know, like, I heard someone in a podcast the other day going on about how it doesn't have the texture of film. Well, you can just press the film texture button, and then it has the texture of film. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
And you can adjust the size of the grain or whatever you want, you know, in it. And it's interesting. I saw Creve Stenders put out a thing the other day, and he was talking about, film, and he was saying, when my first films went out, it was like I saw the print for the first time, and then I saw it getting damaged by the projector every time you played it. You know, it was getting slightly worse, and it was getting dirtier, and and it would get ripped and repaired and everything else, and then you put something out on 2K in a well set up cinema, it'll be that level, and it'll be that look, and it'll stay that forever. Well, not forever, but but that's the thing. I also think that the sort of the idea that someone can buy something like this or use something like this to make a film is just. But the thing that amazes me is that why aren't there all these amazing films? Why isn't there sort of like a punk version of feature films? Why isn't there? I just don't understand.
Well, that's then taking in the factor of talent. The technology is there. Yes. It's like with PCs. Yeah. Everyone's got a PC. But so where are all the great writers now? Well, that's when talent then has to step up. So the technology is available. Yeah. So if you have the talent, you have access to the means to express your talent. But dude, if the talent's not there, no amount of technology, as you know.
Yeah, I know. But I also, like for me, like I am not in a position to. But if I get in a position where I can't get people to give me money to make stuff, I'll just make something. I'll make it.